Welcome to a deep dive where we're going, well, a bit beyond the usual headlines about semaglutide.
Right.
We all know about the big physiological impacts, weight loss, blood sugar control, important stuff.
Absolute.
But today, we're peeling back another layer. We're looking at the psychological side, the identity shifts that happen when hunger just quiets down.
Yeah, that persistent signal.
Exactly. So our mission is to explore what really happens when that craving doesn't hit. And we're using the insights of someone with a really unique perspective on this, Dan Hollis. Because you might think, okay, the food noise stops, life gets easier.
That's the logical assumption.
But as we're going to unpack, that quiet, that's often where the real work actually starts.
It really is. And what's fascinating looking at the sources is this space opens up that people just don't anticipate.
Right.
It's that moment when a coaching mechanism, maybe one you've had for decades, suddenly goes silent. So this deep dive, it's not just about what changes physically. It's really about how people start to build a new sense of self when that fundamental relationship with food just gets turned upside down.
Okay, let's make this concrete.
Yeah.
There's a really powerful example in the sources. Kate, a 46-year-old mother of 3.
Yes. Kate's story is quite illustrative.
So she's 2 months in, 7 counts down, blood sugar's better, minimal side effects, looks good on paper.
Textbook success, you'd think.
But then something really catches her off guard. Tell us about that moment.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. She describes walking past her pantry, something she's done thousands of times, and for the first time in maybe 20 years, nothing reached back.
Nothing reached back.
Exactly. That pull, that craving, it just wasn't there. And for her, someone who knew hunger, like she said, like other people know hymns.
Wow, what a phrase.
Isn't it? Chips for stress, bread when lonely, cake for celebration. That rhythm was gone. And it was deeply disorienting. She said she felt like a ghost in her own kitchen.
A ghost in her own kitchen? That sounds incredibly unsettling. And this is where Dan Hollis brings in a specific idea, right? What did he call that feeling, that space?
He called it the quiet window.
The quiet window.
Yeah, it's that point where food stops answering your questions and then, as he puts it, the real ones start talking.
Real questions. Okay.
Which leads to this really important consideration. What actually happens when the thing that used to numb you, even if it wasn't healthy, even if it was causing problems, what happens when it's just gone?
Right.
There's often a real grief of losing the thing that numbed you. Kate wasn't missing the actual chips or cake.
It's like removing an emotional buffer. So how does Dan Hollis talk about navigating that? Is this thing just a quick fix?
Absolutely not. He's very, very clear on this. His framework is basically, semaglutide doesn't fix you. It gives you space to fix yourself.
Okay, space. That's key.
Exactly. He doesn't see it as the whole solution, not the house, not even the foundation. He calls it good lumber.
Good lumber. I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's the material that makes building something new possible. But only, if you're actually ready to pick up the hammer and do the construction work yourself.
You still have to build the house. Now, most of us think of hunger as purely physical, right? Stomach growling, low energy. How does Hollis reframe that?
He argues that often hunger isn't just physical, it's acting as a stand-in.
A stand-in? For what?
For deeper things, maybe a need for meaning or comfort, or sometimes just escape, a way to cope.
Okay.
So when semaglutide quiets that physical urge, it's like the static goes away on a radio. And what you're left hearing, the actual broadcast, that can be pretty startling. Which brings us back to his point. When the cravings stop, the truth begins. And that's not just, a nice turn of phrase. It's the reality many people face. You think, great, no more food obsession, life will be easier.
Yeah, that would be my first thought.
But the sources really highlight this disorientation, this grief almost, when food, which was the plan, the rhythm, the escape hatch for so long, just doesn't play that role anymore.
So if food was the plan, and now it's not, people are kind of left in this new, maybe confusing territory. What does Dan Hollis say is critical during that transition?
Well, it brings up a really crucial issue. Your body is changing, maybe really fast, but does your sense of self, your actual identity, keep pace?
Good question.
And Hollis has a pretty stark warning about this. He says, your body changes faster than your identity.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like a recipe for problems.
It can be. And that's exactly why his whole approach is, in his words, wrapped in community. He states it pretty bluntly. Most people don't fare because the medication doesn't work. They fail because they were alone.
Alone. alone in navigating that identity shift. What does he offer practically to stop people feeling so adrift?
He offers scaffolding.
Scaffolding, like in construction.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
But it's not just, cheerleading or positive affirmations online. He's talking about building concrete neurobiological replacement structures.
Okay, neurobiological replacement structures. Break that down.
It means creating new rituals, new rhythms, new default routines in your life, things that act like a lattice, like a new pathway in your brain, essentially.
Got it.
Something to hold you up when the old familiar chemistry, the old coping mechanisms start to shift underneath you. As he says, support isn't optional. It's neurobiological scaffolding.
So it's less about just willpower.
Much less. It's really a human architecture story. It's about rebuilding your sense of agency, finding new sources of meaning, relearning momentum in ways that aren't tied solely to food.
Okay. If it's about human architecture and not just pounds lost, how does Hollis redefine winning then? Because it sounds like the scale is not the main event here.
Definitely not. He completely shifts the win condition away from just the number. His core idea is this journey isn't about eating less, it's about living more.
Living more.
Yeah. The real measure of success for him is whether someone feels alive enough to stop measuring everything by food. It's a fundamental shift in focus.
That really connects to something else he says, something that feels like it diagnoses why weight regain is so common, even after significant loss.
Ah, yes. You're probably thinking of weight loss is biology. Staying there is narrative.
That's the one. Biology versus narrative. Unpack that.
It's incredibly insightful, right?
Yeah.
The biology, the weight loss itself, that can happen relatively quickly with these medications.
Yeah.
The chemistry changes, but the narrative, that's your internal story, your identity, your ingrained patterns of thinking and coping, how you see yourself in the world, especially in relation to food, stress, comfort.
Okay.
And that narrative often doesn't change as fast as the body. People lose the weight, but they never rewrite that internal story. They stay quiet about the internal struggle, the identity shift, and eventually, often, the old patterns creep back in.
Because the underlying why hasn't changed.
Exactly. So Dan's work is fundamentally about preventing that quiet window from turning into a silent relapse.
Yeah.
It's about actively filling that space the medication creates, filling it with new structures, with community, with a revised identity, a sense of purpose, and importantly, giving it time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about setbacks? No journey like this is ever a straight line, right? There are going to be bumps. How does he help people deal with those moments that feel like failure?
That's such a critical piece because, yes, setbacks happen,
Yeah.
and the immediate reaction for most
Yeah.
people is shame or feeling like they've failed.
I blew it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Hollis completely reframes this. He taught that most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion.
Confusion. Interesting.
Yeah. He argues setbacks are actually predictable. They're not a sign of failure or lack of willpower. They're just moments where your body and brain are trying to recalibrate, signals that you're human.
Okay.
He uses the analogy of weight loss not being a straight path downwards, but more like a spiral staircase.
A spiral staircase.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're going in circles, maybe covering the same ground, but you're actually still climbing, just from a different perspective.
I like that visual. So hitting a plateau doesn't mean you're stuck or broken.
Not at all. He'd say a plateau is just your body catching up or your metabolism asking for grace. It needs time to adjust.
And if an old craving pops up, that's not weakness either.
No, that's just memory. An old neural pathway lighting up, kind of testing the waters. Asking if it still mattered, as he put it.
Asking if it still mattered.
Right. And the crucial difference now, in that quiet window, is that you can answer it differently. You have the space to choose. He stresses that a setback doesn't mean the medication failed. It means the story you were telling yourself.
The narrative.
Exactly. That narrative still needs updating.
So how does he help people actually do that? Update the story when they're feeling confused or like they've slipped?
He encourages them to shift from judgment to curiosity, to treat the setback not as a verdict, but as a question.
Okay. Like what kind of questions?
Questions like, okay, what am I really feeling right now underneath this urge? Or what do I genuinely need in this moment? Is it food or is it comfort, connection, rest? And maybe most importantly, who do I want to become right now faced with this challenge?
Shifting from blame to inquiry.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about seeing that moment, that setback, not as proof you're losing the battle, but
Yep.
maybe, just maybe, it might mean you're learning.
Okay, let's try and pull this together then. We've explored how semaglutide isn't just about physical hunger. It creates this really profound, quiet window.
Mm.
And this space, yeah, it can be disorienting at first, but it's actually where the real questions and maybe the real answers start to surface for people.
Absolutely. And if you look at the bigger picture Dan Hollis paints, this whole journey becomes less about just losing something, weight, cravings, and much more about gaining.
Gaining what?
Gaining the space, the tools, the scaffolding, the community you need
Yeah.
to actually rebuild your identity, to rewrite that narrative we
Yeah.
talked about.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder, I think, that real, deep change often happens in that quiet space, not necessarily in all the noise and effort we usually associate with transformation.
So thinking about the listener, what does this all mean for you? If maybe you're experiencing a similar kind of quiet, maybe a craving didn't show up today and it felt weird, unsettling even.
Hmm.
The message here seems to be, you're not broken. It's okay. You might just be starting to actually hear yourself again without the static.
Yeah.
So maybe the final thought is this. What if that quiet window isn't just about what you've stopped doing or what you've lost? What if it's an invitation to listen for a different kind of hunger, a deeper need that's finally getting a chance to speak now that the old noise has faded?